7:32. What do you think? Should we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, I think since we're recording, we can pass it on if people can't make it.
So Nick, I don't know you. Thanks for joining us. I guess you're part of Marni's team.
Yes, I am the mentorship coordinator with Athletes for Kids and a former mentor with the program. I graduated from Skyline in 2012 and was a mentor for 3 years.
Wow, that was the glory years, right? Or maybe the beginning, or maybe the middle of
Oh
the
no,
glory years.
I was there for the middle piece of it. So I came in when Jay Keeps was a junior and Kaysen was a sophomore. That was my freshman year, and then graduated when Max Brown was a junior. He was a year younger than me. So Kaysen and Max stair-stepped me, and I keep up with both of them still. And yeah, no, I sophomore year got to be on the sideline for the Oaks Christian game when
I was there.
everyone on. Yeah, that was crazy. Still the coolest experience, either as a coach or a player that I've gotten to be a part of. So
You look up in the stands and there's Wayne Gretzky, Will Smith.
Yep.
Joe
Montana.
Who?
Joe Montana there?
Joe Montana.
Was the quarterback. Yep, Nick Montana was the quarterback. Snoop Dogg and Will Smith walked in together.
I didn't know Snoop Dogg was there.
Yeah, his son was the starting cornerback and the starting wide receiver opposite of Will Smith's son.
Wow. Yeah, that was pretty crazy for a high school football game.
Yeah, well, and then Eastside Catholic the following year had 3 guys go down and join Oaks Christian for lacrosse.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Marni, why don't you, I know Athletes for Kids, I know a little bit about it. It's a really cool program where, so tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like athletes, maybe high school athletes, will mentor kids with special needs.
Got it, exactly. And you got the Rotary. You all have been so generous and supportive of us, and we can't thank you enough. We opened at Mount Si High School just in 2019, and we had a lot of people asking for us to get up into the area there, and we were thrilled to be able to do that. So Mount Si is we should be having, and Nick, I'll have you can text her in a little bit, is we have a Mount Si mentor that'll join us today and just share a little bit about her experiences with the program. But we're thrilled, and on 2022, we'll be at our 20-year anniversary that we've been around. So I've been on board for 5 years, and Nick's been with me. I think, Nick, you're at about 3. So we're a small group, but do great things.
Maggie Mitchell just joined us, and I bet she is the student that you're talking about. Welcome, Maggie.
Hi,
Morning, Maggie.
How are you guys doing? Hi.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having a hard time figuring out Blue Jeans. I've never had it before, so I had to download it to my computer before I could hop on. So,
No problem. I was doing the same thing, Maggie.
Yep.
This is probably the last meeting we have with Blue Jeans. We're moving to Zoom, and good luck, Blue Jeans.
Yeah, we've done GoToMeeting, Teams, and Zoom in our realm, but have stuck really with the Zoom.
I think GoToMeeting is kind of like having an AOL email address.
I agree. That's not my fave.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, so I didn't know if you want me to. We did bring a PowerPoint presentation in, Jonas. If we want to share that, we can put that out. I didn't know if we were starting right away to do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead. And
okay.
If you look at your screen, there's right up top, there's a camera, microphone, and a computer screen.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. I should be sharing now, I believe.
Oh, wow. Well, you guys are good. All right, I'm quiet.
Nick and I have this down. So perfect.
I run the Zoom for the 2 to 4 meetings we have each week. So I've learned those icons well, unfortunately.
So we just got a presentation. I know some of you have heard our story before, but we've got a little bit of new information in terms of how we've pivoted and worked through the pandemic and how we've continued to stay relevant, which you can imagine. when you're a mentoring program that's used to having buddies and mentors meet in person, we really had to figure out pretty quickly how we could change and how, what we could do. So we'll do just a brief history for those of you that don't know a little bit about us. Our mission, and Jonas, you were so correct in it, is we enhance the lives of children with special needs and the high school athletes that mentor them. We believe that modeling acceptance, inclusion, and respect of all individuals transforms and strengthens our communities. And we envision a community where children of all abilities are celebrated. So I always love the mission statement so much because, as you'll hear from Maggie, this is a reciprocal program where not only the child that's being mentored, but the mentor themselves really are able to really grow profoundly in what they're in as themselves and in people because of the program. So just a little bit. We started, as Nick was talking, we actually started in Skyline High School back in 2002. At the time, there was a young man in the neighborhood whose family was having such a difficult time. He had a medical condition that was visible. And the kids started to tease and ostracize and bully and make fun of him. And the family thought if they could just find one friend, it would change this young man's life. So Dad went up to Skyline High School. Again, they were kind of having the glory days at that point, and reached out to the coach, who found that Simi Reynolds, one of the running backs, right, Nick? He was a running back.
Running back, wide receiver, yeah.
Will you spend some time with this young man? And Simi said, sure, I'd love to do it. And started to spend time with this young man. And what inspired and what happened after that was that they realized this is a system that works, and there are other kids that could benefit from it. So Simi went back, recruited 4 more athletes, and the first chapter of Athletes for Kids was there at Skyline High School. And I'm looking at the slide here, and actually it should say 12 now because we added Mount Si. So we currently are in 12 chapters right now in the Bellevue School District, Lake Washington, Issaquah, Snoqualmie Valley, and Mercer Island.
And Eastside Catholic is our one.
And Eastside Catholic as well, which is a great chapter to be at because we're able to take the mentors. Eastside Catholic draws from a pool of athletes that come from a variety of different areas. And so we're able to serve more children because of that, because we can match the mentors in their area.
Right. So what we do.
Keep going, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, we match children who have disabilities and special needs with high school athletes to learn from each other and positively impact each other's lives. So for mentoring, we're serving children in 1st through 12th grade who have disabilities, special needs, or come from an adverse childhood background or trauma. So we do have kids in the program who maybe are in single parent households and mom and dad went through a divorce recently and are acting out in the classroom, and the principal or the teacher have made a recommendation that a mentor could help, down to mom and dad are possibly incarcerated and, the buddy lives with grandma and grandpa. But in any case, all the families that come in submit an application and then go through an intake call with myself, where we find out more about what's going on, how a mentor could best help, and how this could best fit in their lives. Youth development, we're supporting the high school students by developing leadership skills, character, commitment, and compassion. As you'll hear from Maggie, the mentors meet for 6 to 8 hours each month. It breaks down to 1.5 to 2 hours each week. With the pandemic, that's kind of shifted a bit because some of our buddies who are either autism spectrum disorder or ADD, ADHD, just being on a Zoom call when they're already doing it every day for school is hard if they're doing a virtual mentorship currently. So while time has shifted, they're still dedicated, they're still working. They also have to attend a monthly mentor meeting at their chapter. Those have gone to Zoom calls currently, which is great because now there's no missed meetings. You can't make yours. You just show up to the next week or you show up to the next hour. Exactly. We've also, with the pandemic, been able to implement leadership positions at each school. So we have a club president, vice president, recruitment chair, and a secretary. And we have this going now at almost all of our chapters, with the exception of, I believe, just our smaller ones, Bellevue, Mercer Island, and Liberty, and Eastside Catholic. And as they grow, the hope is that we'll start to introduce that same stuff, but it's allowed for us to run our meetings on parliamentary procedure, add a little bit more structure, and then obviously we now run an exec meeting where we're able to meet with those who hold office, and go over kind of more in-depth leadership and in other ways they can impact their chapter as well as their community. Which brings us to community, building inclusive communities where people of all abilities are celebrated, which I can tell you from my own experience, just walking the halls, being a mentor, I looked to try and improve others' lives. I knew that, not everyone was going through the best day. If I had a smile on my face, I could potentially do better. So that's what we do. Then
There we are at our some chapter pictures, and you'll see Maggie and her buddy in the corner, and she'll talk in a little bit. But when we first came in to Mount Si High School, with the support of your Rotary really helped us with funding, and we had an open house that we held and support with Charlie Canoon, the varsity coach at Mount Si, and we got some potential interested mentors to show up that day. It was great. I think that's where Maggie even came the first time. She'll let you know, but we look to get back there really soon, because it's great when you could do in-person recruiting. But like I said, we've been at Mount Si fall of 2019. So oftentimes people will ask, who are the buddies in our program? And as Nick mentioned before, our buddies have a variety of different needs, but they are all at least in first grade. They can go all the way up to 12th grade. We do have senior buddies in the program. The buddies must live within a 10-mile radius to their mentor. So, Maggie being a Mount Si student, we could have potentially matched her with somebody in Fall City. We actually have a mentor that lives in Redmond, but because of the distance, it's 10 miles, we're able to match. The child must be able to relate to a high school student. Doesn't mean talking. We have several children in the program that are nonverbal, but they are able to communicate and have a connection with their mentor. Some use an iPad. Some it's just, the mentor can say, do you want this? Do you want that? But there must be some sort of connection. And in a survey that we do at the end of every year, we had 98% of our buddy parents report that having a mentor has made a difference in their child's life. And I can certainly attest that with what's been going on with the pandemic, I would imagine that's 100% now. For so many of our buddies are not able to have any connection with other friends except their mentor now that they're home all the time. Highest need that we serve is autism. You can see it right there. But we also have ADHD, anxiety, Down syndrome, counselor referral. We're soon to make this even broader and work to support children that are really having a difficult time with the isolation from the pandemic and not being able to be with their friends. There's a whole group coming in that we really want to be able to serve as they're continuing to not be able to go to school. But variety of different needs. Again, and Nick was good to mention the adverse childhood experience. We're seeing a lot more of that, and we're also seeing a lot more of anxiety and depression. And then what is the benefits of having a mentor? Self-confidence increases with the child, self-esteem. Probably number one thing is happiness, that we get the parents to report on that their child has somebody to come in and spend time with. Friendship, a lot of social skills. Even on our calls that we've been doing when mentors are meeting virtually, they're still able to work on that. Nick and I run Zoom meetings and events every month for the mentors and buddies, and it's been interesting. There'll be a sidebar conversation with a mentor and their buddy in a private chat where the mentor might say, hey, it's not your turn to talk. So make sure you're listening, or, hey, I love your enthusiasm, but let Nick run run the event. So there's several benefits of having a mentor and what it means. So it also does the same for the mentor, and I'll let you do that part, Nick.
Wonderful. So our mentors are 10th through 12th graders. When we are recruiting, though, we only take sophomores and juniors so that the mentorship can be at least 2 years, if not 3. Mentors have to be able to express a strong desire to make a difference in a child's life. There are a ton of different opportunities to get volunteer and community service hours. If that is the main reason you're trying to join our program, this isn't the program for you. You've really got to be able to make a commitment that's, it goes past even just a weekly commitment. You may get a call from your buddy mom one night that, your buddy had a really tough day, and even though you met 2 days ago, could you just pick up the phone and call them? Because truly you are for a lot of the kids the only friend they have. They have to attend the initial new mentor meeting and go through training meetings. So that initial new mentor training is a 4-hour training with Marni and myself. We have now completed 2 virtual trainings via Zoom in the pandemic, and we will complete our 3rd one in March. We're very excited. We're currently reaching out to those on our wait list and those who have applied to set up interviews, and we are definitely accepting new applications. They have to be able to commit to mentoring a buddy for 6 to 8 hours per month for the duration of their high school career. Their mentorship ends when they graduate. The only time that a mentorship would end earlier than that is if one party moves. Although now we've got families that have moved due to the pandemic and they're still able to keep things up because it's virtual. We've kind of adapted there. Or if a mentor just truly drops the ball, which unfortunately we probably get about 4 program-wide a year. Either seniors or juniors who have joined the program, have gotten matched, have made an impact, and it's too much of a commitment and they slide on responsibility, or they're just not hitting the mark in terms of mentorship and it has to be shut down, which is unfortunate. And then they all must receive 3 letters of recommendation from a coach, a teacher, and then a personal reference. So anyone that's not a family member. And that's a nice little 10 questionnaire that we send out and keep on file for them if ever needed. But 89% of AFK's graduating seniors last year reported that being a mentor improved their emotional well-being. And I can tell you it changed my course in terms of what I did for school, my current job situation, everything. So it truly is a very impactful experience when you commit to it 100% and see it through. And then more benefits of being a mentor. So what we've heard from our mentors is that it improves emotional well-being, increases awareness of others and their needs. You gain leadership skills. You are the primary communicator in this relationship. Marni and I do not set up your meetings for you or reach out to the parents. You have, as a high schooler, the one that's reaching out. You're setting up weekly visits. You're asking how things are going. You're the primary. Character development. Being able to have patience to sit through an awkward situation or an uncomfortable situation and still be able to lead through it, and say, hey buddy, I'm here for you always, that, but we gotta take a step back here. We can't be saying that in public, right? You're able to help others in the future. Like I said, this changed my course. I went to WSU and thought that I was going to be doing hotel and hospitality business management, and made the switch to secondary education and special education, and have been lucky enough to come back and coach in the area as a high school lacrosse coach, as well as work with the program in the capacity I do now. And it reduces stress. You have 2 hours each week where you're a superhero. My buddy would wait for me in the window when I would show up and have 20 different things that he wanted to tell me about his week, about his day, about what was going on in his life. And we would just hang out. We would kick a soccer ball around, shoot basketball, play Xbox, go for walks, right? It essentially, I got to take off all the stress of being a high school student and a high school athlete and where are you going to college next year, and just hang out with a friend and do things that I did when I was younger. But those are the areas of mentorship benefits.
I think that probably the most important thing that we wanted to share with all of you today, because so many of you have heard about our program before, is just what we've done in terms of responding to COVID. Nick mentioned just recently, just in his last conversation about how we've had to have mentor meetings. We just completed our 12th mentor meeting via Zoom, our 11th mentor via Zoom this last week. So we had to realize, how are we going to stay relevant and how are we going to support the kiddos in our program? And so we immediately went to a virtual format. We are still in that format, in that mentors and buddies are meeting virtually, or they are meeting outside, socially distanced with mask on. You can see Maggie and her buddy down below there. We have another mentor who and his buddy met and went to the pumpkin patch. We mentors and buddies are meeting FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, gotten very creative with doing it. Many of our families, for obvious reasons, are not comfortable even meeting in person outside with masks on and social distancing. So those mentorships are strictly virtual. Believe it or not, we have mentors in the program right now who have not yet met their buddy in person. They've only met them virtually. It's a pretty wild thing when you think about it. And there are mentors in the program that Nick and I have interviewed and trained, and we have not met them in person yet. Which is just what we've all had to do. So we continue to train. We continue to have these young men and women meet. They get very creative. We heard a story from a mentor last week. He and his buddy are only able to meet virtually. His buddy has cerebral palsy, is in a wheelchair, is also nonverbal. And so they were really connecting when this young man could come to the house. Parents are not interested, obviously, compromise the mentor to come and meet outside. So this his buddy loves Disneyland. So he went and found, I think it was via YouTube, a simulation of the Disneyland rides that he was able to do with his buddy. So again, creativity. We met their meeting and connecting, and for the foreseeable future, the meetings are taking place, if they're in person, at parks, front yards, backyards, in the garage, with an open, socially distanced. And we post on our website weekly variety of activities that the mentors can do with their buddy virtually. And the creativity has been amazing. As Nick mentioned, I would tell you that the hours for some of our mentors definitely are not 6 to 8 right now. Some of the buddies that can only meet virtually, they're Zooming all day for school. So many of them, that connection on Zoom is very difficult. And so the mentor might do, instead of a meeting, it's 3 or 4 check-ins during the week. We have mentors that just write letters, check in with the family. But the most important thing is that connection has continued to happen. And I couldn't be more proud as I've watched these young men and women really, really keep their mentorship at the top of their list of things that they still do, and they know how important it is, and that connection has been outstanding. And Nick and I are tremendously proud of them. And then we meet with them each week virtually, and I truly believe, and Maggie can share, that connection that they're on with us for a mentor meeting, they're seeing their friends in the chapter that they haven't been able to see at school. And many of them are telling us, I love the meetings because I at least can see my friends, and we're not having a chance to do that. So very proud of the group and how we've connected and pivoted. And as Nick mentioned, we will have another training via Zoom coming up in March. And there's just a few more things that we've seen that have happened. The picture on the left is a mentor from Juanita. She and her buddy were making a birthday card for this little girl's friend because she wasn't able to attend the party. Up in the upper left-hand corner, a mentor and her buddy are outside making Halloween cookies. We have a letter that a buddy wrote to his mentor. We have the middle picture is a mentor and a buddy playing Twister. And then there's a great quote from a high school parent, a mentee parent from outside that just said, our mentor took our daughter for a bike ride, and this was the first outing she's been able to do with a friend during this time. And we're so thankful to have her in my daughter's life. So we're hearing it daily that these connections are really, really continuing to make a difference. And we couldn't be prouder of that. So I believe it would be Maggie's turn now, because Nick and I can talk all we want, but I truly believe that the opportunity for you all to hear someone that's actually been in the program both pre-COVID, during COVID, and how she's responded and what she's doing. So Maggie, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me today. I could talk about this for hours. This program means so much to me. From when we first started, I actually did a project freshman year on this entire mentorship program, and I had no idea it was going to get brought to them outside, but I was introducing it to teachers and telling them that we should have something similar. And that following year, the end of my sophomore year, I got a paper from my soccer coach that said, you should go to this, like it's just an interest meeting, and it was for athletes for kids. And I felt like my mind had been read. It was so exciting. I was thrilled to be there. From that first time I showed up, I knew I was in a program I was going to care about, and I knew I was with people that had the similar interests that I do. Meeting Marni and Nick for the first time, they immediately made me feel a part of something, and I felt like I was where I belonged. And that following fall, into my junior year, is when I was matched with my buddy Abby. And now we've been together for over a year, and it's one of my most valued things in life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on here. I really do mean it. Our friendship is just so special, and the fact that I get to go over to her house and we get to do pretty much whatever we want. We go on walks, and this was also pre-COVID, we'd go on drives, I remember us going to the movies, and we'd go get jelly beans at the store and do the bamboozled thing to see. She'd always give me the bad ones because she thought it was really funny when I would eat the bad ones, and then she would get the good ones. But just whatever we're doing, it's always us laughing and smiling, and it means so much to me to know that I'm impacting her while she's impacting me. And she's just been so great. Knowing that she's become her own person in the last year and a half, watching her grow so much has been crazy. I talk to her mom about it all the time, but seeing her become more independent, as she is the oldest of her siblings, she's been very attached to her mom, very attached to her whole family, and now she has totally been a leader, been independent, and she's going to be heading into 6th grade next year, which is really exciting, but I think she's totally going to be ready for it with the skill set she's made. One of the biggest things she's taught me is how to have empathy for others. I know growing up, my brother Oliver has autism, and so I got a firsthand experience of what it's like to have someone in your family who needs a little extra effort and time to understand and be there for. And growing up, it's my sibling. I'm always going to bicker with them, and it's, that's how it is. But it's taught me so much growing up with him, and applying that to my mentorship with Abby. It's made us connect so easily and so well. And it's also proven that this means so much to me because, I just wish my brother Oliver could have had an experience like this. I know he would have loved it. He had like one friend all of his high school experience, and knowing that I get to be Abby's friend is so great. But yeah, it's awesome. And I love all the mentors in our program about the inclusion of others. And I, again, wish I could see them in person. I know on the Zooms it's hard. I just get a little screen of them, but everyone has a similar goal and we're all tackling it in same but different ways. And it's nice to be a part of a community like that because everyone has the right intentions and everyone wants to do good. So yeah, it's been wonderful and I love everything about it. I can't even imagine leaving next year. It's scary that is approaching already. I feel like I was just starting, but yeah. Yeah.
We just want to say, Nick and I, when we knew that we were going to be presenting today, it was an obvious choice. Maggie has been an outstanding mentor. I hope you can, not hope, I know you can hear the enthusiasm, the passion. She's just been wonderful. I mean, any high schooler that wants to get up at 7:30 and be on a Zoom call with all of us is pretty impressive to begin with. So she has been fantastic. And one thing that I love that Maggie brought up, the fact that her buddy's in 6th grade, because one of the things that we really want our current mentors to do is to recruit new mentors. And oftentimes what will happen is as the senior mentor is graduating, if Maggie's buddy would like another mentor, Maggie can help bring that new mentor in and help with that transition. And a lot of our mentors do that. And it's a wonderful way to keep that connection going. So Maggie, you're fantastic. And thank you for being on here today. And I'm sure if any of you on the call have questions, Maggie or myself or Nick, we would be happy to answer anything.
Well, I was just going to say that you all did too good of a presentation because you seem to answer questions before they actually even came up as I was thinking about different things. So Maggie, I guess my question will be for you, and it sounded like you already answered it, but I was curious where that kind of original passion came from, the fact that you were looking at doing this, and it sounds like your brother would have been a good buddy. It sounds like. So, have you been seeing that a lot of the other mentors like yourself have a similar situation, or what are you seeing from your friends that are driving them to do this?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely growing up with my brother. It made me feel like this was perfect for me. I knew I would be a good candidate because, I've grown up with Oliver and experienced how best to treat him and also how to treat him as a person, of course, not just someone who needs to be babied. And so I understood going into this, what I was getting myself into, but I was excited about it. And also definitely doing my project freshman year made me even more excited to do it because I knew I wanted to be a leader in getting this going. And now I'm the vice president of the chapter. So it feels great to be a part of organizing and doing everything for our chapter. I think for a lot of my peers, I couldn't tell you exactly what drives them to do this, but I think truly it is knowing the benefits you are getting out of it. And I don't mean benefits by volunteer hours. I mean benefits by what you're experiencing with your buddy. I think Marni and Nick do a great job of, when we had our interest meeting, they showed us exactly how much you are going to be getting out of this and the empathy and kindness and respect for others, like everything you are going to be gaining from this and giving onto someone else. And I just think it's so rewarding that it's enough to convince almost anyone. And I think a lot of my peers also just, they want to make an impact in others' lives, as I do too. I don't know if they have more personal experiences. I know one of our mentors, Brooke, was someone who did the project with me freshman year. So both of us, we were going into that interest meeting side by side, like, you're going, I'm going. So that was one of my experiences with it. But yeah, I think everyone has their own interest, but it's definitely something that when I talk to my friends who are not part of the program, I have had many friends say, "Oh, I wish I would have done that. I'm a senior and I regret not doing this earlier." So yeah, it's very fulfilling.
I really like that question, Jason, because one thing that Nick and I really make sure we do when we interview is there has to be that passion that we can see. I mean, there are a lot of volunteer opportunities, but this is a pretty significant time commitment. So we find when we're interviewing people, they might have a personal experience, like Maggie said, but in general, there's that strong desire. It feels good to make another person happy. And that really is articulated when we interview these young men and women. And we'll often say when we're talking about recruitment, we'll tell people like Maggie or the people in the chapter, you guys have great friends, and you know the friends, even though they're great, that would not be a good mentor. They're too busy, or and we find that by the time we get these applications, and I was thrilled, Nick, I don't know if you saw it, Jay, we had a Mount Si application this morning. These young men and women really have a desire, and so I'm sure you can just see it coming through with Maggie. But that was a great question, and we often, a buddy parent will say, well, why do these high schoolers want to do this? Why would a high school, and it's, Nick and I get an opportunity to really talk and shine and tell these are great young men and women.
Well, that last comment actually leads to my next question, and it sounded like a good percentage of the buddies come from an autism spectrum scale. And if you're not familiar with it from a personal experience, it can appear just crazy and very, very frustrating, right? So how do you coach, these high school kids who, don't even have enough patience for themselves sometimes, let alone, somebody else, especially on the higher levels of the spectrum? Sure. How do you work through that?
And that's a great question. And the thing about autism, and when Nick and I talk about it with the kids, it's the old, if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. It is so different in so many, all of our buddies. And so, Nick, and please add on to this after I share, is one of the things that we really encourage the mentors to do when we actually, is have a connection with the buddy parent. The parent knows their child the best. And, we can talk about communication skills and strategies, but every child that has autism is different. And so in our interview with these mentors, we'll say, you are the primary communicator. How are you going to build that relationship with the parent so that they are able to share with you, this is what might set somebody off, or this is how we handle that. And we find that the best mentorships are the ones where that mentor has really taken that responsibility seriously. And we will also spend time in our chapter meetings, which are confidential, but we're able in a group setting there to share, okay, how does anybody come up with something like this? What do you do when your buddy continues to talk about the same thing constantly? What are some strategies you can do? And I think we've done a good job, and we will work through that. But the mentors really teach themselves in a lot of ways through their personal experiences with their buddies.
And kind of going off of that too, one of the other questions we have, one of the final two questions we have when we do the interviews is, can you tell us about a time where you've had to demonstrate a lot of patience? And for all these kids that can quickly articulate that, they are the ones that can really set it up, and they'll be the ones that thrive. And for some, they struggle to find that example. And it doesn't mean that they're going to be a bad mentor. We just need to help coach those kids a little bit more on skills involving patience, right? Reminding them you are the lead in this, right? People are going to feed off your energy. They're going to be able to tell whether or not you're in control of the situation. For this past month in January, one of our coaching topics was 4 C's. And it was kind of all about preparedness, making sure that when you come in, you're being creative, you have an action plan. One of the reasons that we use mentors is the fact that they've all lost at some point and they've come back to practice the next day. Or we use athletes as mentors, I should say. For a lot of these young men and women, they've had a terrible practice where they went home and they were just done with it, and they still showed up the next day because they know I'm part of something. I'm part of a team. I've made a commitment. I need to follow through on that commitment. Final piece with kind of what drives them and why they're there and how it all works is the fact that like Marni said, they go to the mentor meetings and they hear from seniors like Maggie. And it's incredibly helpful when you're a sophomore just starting out and you just had your first Zoom meeting with your buddy, and 10 minutes in, it was great. And then he just told you, okay, bye, and hung up the thing. Having a senior that can kind of laugh about it with you and say, hey, that's just going to happen. It's okay. Right. Call back. Right. Hit reset, call back, see what happens. They don't pick up, and then you can call mom and talk to mom and start building that communication and that relationship. But just to hear from someone else that's, walked even a quarter mile in their shoes in terms of how the mentorships can be, where things can be tough, knowing that they've got those teammates and they've got someone that has their back, it's incredibly motivating, and it makes it easier to keep showing up.
Appreciate it. I'm sitting here thinking that I'm going to groom my 9 and 11-year-olds for this. When they're in high school. I just hope that my daughter wants to do some sort of sport, right? So she could be a part of it. My son, he's all about sports. But yeah, no, that's great programs, and thank you for presenting.
Oh, thank you for having us. As I said, beginning, you guys have been so supportive for us, and we can't thank you enough. It's been exciting to be in the Snoqualmie Valley, and we're so excited to continue to build. If Nick and I leave you with anything today, please, if any of you do know of somebody, maybe it's a family friend or it's a neighbor that has a sophomore or junior at Mount Si High School that would be interested in being a mentor, or on the flip side, perhaps somebody that has a child that would benefit from having a mentor. We've got peach jar flyers that go out through the school district, but we are also able to send and attach anything if anybody ever needs any information. We always say we're the best kept secret on the East Side, and it continues to be that way, and we don't want it to be. So please, we'd love it if you all would be able to share the story, and if you have anybody that could be benefiting either way, we'd love to have
Marni,
yeah.
The principal of Mount Si is a Rotarian with us.
Oh, he's fantastic, and he has met with Nick and myself. He could not be. He's been so great. Yeah.
So is the Rob Manahan, the superintendent. Yes. So
really?
we have some connections to the school district, and we'll definitely make sure that John gets a copy of this video and see if we can get some volunteers. It's a fantastic program. So.
Well, thank you
for
so
doing
much. Sure.
I actually just had a really quick question just regarding mentors. Do the students have to be traditional athletes? Or if it's a student that just really has a desire to be a mentor, and they're not necessarily an athlete, can they join the program as well?
So really, it was founded on athletes. It used to be that you had to be an athlete at your school. But what we found is, there are a lot of people that practice a sport that maybe, for example, are not part of the school. So maybe a skier, or we've had fencers in the program before. We've had hockey players. As long as they participate in that some form of athletics, so that they understand, the concept of why we choose athletes. We've really broadened that a lot, and I think that's been great because, like I said, some people say, well, I'm not on the school team. I don't play soccer at the school, but I play club soccer, or I ride horses, and we really have broadened that because Nick, you always say it best. If you know what it is to be part of a team, and the desire and the what you need, the commitment in any sort of athletic endeavor, then we certainly would want you to be a mentor.
Would you ever consider using someone as a mentor who is a member of something like, say, a chess team?
Dave, that's a great question, and it's come up a lot. And we've talked about it at our board. In general, the consensus has been, since the program started with athletes, the thought has been to continue with that, and the board has felt pretty strongly that concept of coaching and that an athlete gets is where they want to be right now. That being said, we've often talked about the fact that that might eventually have to be something that we open more as we go into chapters. Sometimes, we don't have enough mentor applications, and oftentimes it's been, well, anybody that's on a chess team, or maybe they're in the robotics club, they know what a commitment is, they know how, and so we definitely discuss it. But I think in general right now, the desire is to maintain the where the program started with athletes.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions for Marni or Nick or Maggie? Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time. Maggie, you better get to class.
I was gonna say, I think she already hopped off and has started her deal at Mount Si.
You did.
Well, awesome. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate the time.
All right. Well, guys, I don't know if you paid attention to the email that I had sent out